The Dragon Ball franchise is one that is very near and dear to my heart. Some of my most nostalgic memories consist of watching Dragon Ball AMVs on YouTube or watching episodes on TV, even when I was too young to fully understand the context. And of course, I spent a lot of time playing games like Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Tenkaichi Tag Team, and Xenoverse 2. Even now I'm currently playing through Kakarot and have been playing Dokkan Battle on and off since 2016. Throughout the many years I've consumed Dragon Ball related content though, there's always been one moment of the series that stuck with me. It goes something like this. In Ginger Town, the population of 15,000 has been reduced to nearly zero in an instant. Piccolo, being freshly fused with Kami, decides to confront the threat head on. There you are, you freak of nature. Now, you freak of nature. Piccolo is stopped in the middle of his sentence when he feels the energy that the creature is putting off. Not only that, but this thing is also holding what looks to be the last living resident of Ginger Town by his collar. Help me! I'll give you anything you want. I'm the richest man in this town. Hey, are you listening? I doubt you can understand my language, but let him go. A life is a life, even one as worthless as his. As the man attempts to crawl away, the creature, later known as Cell, begins to absorb him. We can see the man melt with a look of pure terror and agony on his face before disappearing. Piccolo is of course left shocked. The purpose of that scene was to show you that Dragon Ball has the potential for horror, and with the new wave of internet horror, it was only a matter of time before someone finally created a horror series based on Dragon Ball. Twitter user Kinzokumato has done just that. Imagine a world where alternates exist in the Dragon Ball universe. What exactly would that look like? Let's find out. The Twitter account and TikTok page for this series, as well as my own social media, will be linked below, so if you enjoy the series, please go support the original creator. I hope you enjoy this one. So what is this series actually called? I mean, most horror series online have some type of title. This one in particular is called Dragon Ball The Others. Although, as we'll see in the introductory video, it can also go by other names.
Is it recording?
Yeah. Why are you whispering? Because I am not supposed to speak. Oh, okay.
Posted to Twitter on February 11, 2023, this video, although not being the first in the series, is the introductory video because it actually explains the series premise and establishes a title. The video begins with a Vegeta alternate called David, yes, David, introducing himself before he tells us a bit more about the series.
Today's recording is about explaining the situation around all of this. How could we call it? Kinzokumato's Dragon Ball The Others, Body Snatchers, Skinwalkers, Doppelgangers, the Substitutors, the Alternators.
Every single name refers to the same concept, but this series has a lot of different titles. Personally, I'll stick with Dragon Ball The Others just for brevity's sake. Also, you'll notice by David's appearance that he follows very similar rules to the alternates from the Mandela Catalog series. He looks very similar to the original Vegeta, but at the same time has obviously very inhuman features like hollow white eyes and a constantly open mouth with long teeth. After a bit of bantering, for a lack of a better word, he moves on to explain the actual rules of the series.
I'm gonna explain to you the overall context, rules, and apparently upcoming projects. As you saw it, it's about putting Dragon Ball characters in disturbing to many, horrifying to others, and boring to some situations. Them facing visually alternative versions of who they are and not exact copies. It was inspired by Reel found on Instagram, which was itself inspired by the Mandela Catalog, both in the description. That said, now, the rules. Rule number 1.
Just ignore that part. Actually, now that I think about it, the horror of the eclipse could make a great video by itself. But anyway, by the way, we'll get into the reel that inspired this series in a minute.
Right. Number 1, we do what we want. Because we want to have fun. I get it. It explains why I was able to explode the wall. Got it, people? We do what we want. Woo, dee, woo woo woo. And it will be the only rule, because this is a brand new wall and we don't want to break it.
The only rule of this series is that the others can do whatever they want. No laws of physics, thermodynamics, dimensionality, whatever, nothing applies to them. They don't want to corrupt and destroy humanity like the alternates from the Mandela Catalog. They just don't really have a goal at all. They just want to have fun. Honestly, them being that unpredictable is way more terrifying than the former. Will the Z Fighters even be able to take out this threat? Let's check out the reel that inspired this all. On January 26, 2023, an Instagram user called EllaDoesFX uploaded this video.
You see another person that looks identical to you. Run away and hide.
Very creepy, but you can also see how inspired this series was by this specific reel. If you look at the first two videos, the videos follow a very similar premise. Broly and Vegeta are both on the couch watching TV. Not sure why Goku and Vegeta would fuse to watch television, but I digress. They see the PSA about the alternates, and then they come in contact with one of the others. Very terrifying and simple. The third episode is similar, with Bulma in the car listening to the radio before a terrifying alternate appears in the back seat. However, after these episodes, we start to get a little more of a plot, and that's of course what I'll be getting into next. Absorption Means Perfection was posted on February 7th, 2023. Cell is standing on his world tournament stage waiting for the fighters to arrive like he does in the normal series before his radio plays a strange message, the one you've already heard from the Mandela catalog. Cell immediately senses the creature behind him even though he never noticed it before, and as we see it reaching towards him from one angle, we can see it lowering its mouth down towards him from another. His face is looking like that of pure terror. This is also the first animated scene of the series as far as I can tell, and it truly does its job. The alternate in this case seems to be trying to absorb Cell in order to gain more power, the same way that Cell absorbed the androids. It makes me wonder if all the heroes and villains of the Dragon Ball universe are going to have to work together in order to defeat these others, or if there's just no hope. In Chocolate, we see Majin Buu going through the same fate. Although we don't see either of these characters get eaten or killed, it's clearly implied that nothing good happened to them. Both of these characters have the ability to gain power through absorption, so it's likely that's why they're both being eaten. In one of the more terrifying episodes called A Beautiful Family, Goku is seen standing in a black void before this happens.
Run away. Hide.
The most terrifying thing about this video is that these alternates were able to replicate Goku from when he was a child, meaning that they have been watching him for a very long time. Not only that, but they were also able to replicate several deceased characters, those being Bardock, Goku Black, and Turles. Well, I'm not fully sure if Bardock is deceased because of some of the panels I've seen from the Dragon Ball Super manga, but the other two definitely are. They even replicate Goku Jr., who, like Goku Black, isn't even from the same timeline, as he's the multiple times great-grandson of Goku from Dragon Ball GT. Unlike the Mandela catalog, where as far as we know only one alternate of you in the present can exist, here they can replicate family members, your past and future self, and even people that look very similar, as Turles was never stated to be related to Goku despite the fact that they nearly look identical. That means that you can never truly escape them, as there will be alternates based off of every period of your life tracking you down. I don't know if even Goku will be able to make it out of that one. I'm sure we'll see how he turns out in the future though. The next episode is called The Ultimate Bio Weapon. It starts off with Broly and presumably his alternate watching the same PSA before a Bio Broly alternate arrives. What's interesting here is that Broly and his alternate seem to be peacefully coexisting until the Bio Broly alternate arrives, wherein presumably they both will end up fighting against it. This is fleshed out a bit more in the next episode, which is also called All in the Family. It starts off with the two alternates and Super Broly watching the same PSA, however this time Kale is the alternate that arrives. This is interesting because although her powers and appearance are similar to Broly, they're not related or from the same universe for that matter. The alternates again direct their anger towards Kale, which implies that these creatures have their own mind and can exist peacefully with their original forms if they want to. This will probably be beneficial in the future. We hear someone's running footsteps. Goku was forced to escape before collapsing. This means that these creatures likely have a similar power level to the people they copy, if not a higher one. Hopefully he's just unconscious, and that's it. The next episode is called Hello, Son Gohan. Yamcha is seen switching through TV shows before he ends up on that infamous PSA. He hears a knock at the window before a creature immediately appears behind him on the ceiling, taking the grotesque form of a spider. It speaks. Oh, you're not Son Gohan. Ah, sorry. The final scene shows Yamcha receiving the same injury that he got from Android 20. Thanks to a sensu bean, he survived that one, but I don't know if he'll get that same luxury this time around. And it appeared, out of the dead zone, ghoulish, to reclaim its throne. This is the title of the next episode that begins with Emperor Pilaf watching TV, and unlike the usual sequence we've come to know, we get some dialogue from a different program.
The further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others.
I could be wrong, but I feel like this dialogue is describing these alternates or others that we've come to know. Creatures exploring this vast world, all with their own motivations and reasoning. Some are devilish, looking to absorb or destroy their original copy, while others seemingly are just easily able to coexist, like with Broly. The usual PSA comes on, but Pilaf yawns and turns it off before it can finish. He lays there, and it transitions from 11:30 p.m. to 3:33 a.m. Besides being infamous for being the witching hour, a time at which spirits and demons can roam freely among humans at their most powerful, it's also an angel number as it has the same number repeating. The reason I believe the second portion is significant is only because of the angel comment from earlier, but that could honestly mean nothing. The door creaks open as something enters the room. This wakes Pilaf up. At first he seems to be falling back asleep, but then he senses it. A grotesque version of Garlic Jr. is at the edge of his bed. It looms over him with its mouth wide open, and we can only assume his fate was not very good. In Hail to the Prince, Vegeta is seen shaving before that same PSA audio plays as usual. However, when the creature behind him appears, this time taking the form of Baby Vegeta from Dragon Ball GT, Vegeta wastes no time powering up and attacking. The attack does nothing, however. In fact, his punch didn't even make the monster flinch. Just how strong are these guys? The monster returns with a beam blast that destroys Vegeta's home. He survives, but he's forced to see doppelgangers of himself as a child and his deceased father. Not only that, but he has to see another monster emerge from the wreckage of a burning car, that being the car of his wife, Bulma. In the end, we hear what sounds like Vegeta powering up, although he could be screaming in terror, but I'm assuming the former, knowing him. This is the second time we've actually seen some aftermath of these attacks. We now know that unfortunately Bulma has passed on, meaning that it's likely almost everyone else has also passed away. However, we know that a direct attack from one of these monsters wasn't enough to take Vegeta's life, even in base form. That means that there might be a very slim chance of hope. In space, It's Kind of Frosty begins with King Cold sitting in his spaceship before the infamous line plays. After this, Frieza appears, startling him before Cooler does the same. I really like the way this scene plays out as well, because as a watcher, we're so used to a monster appearing immediately after the PSA audio that it was super easy to be faked out. However, not all is well. A gigantic creature looms on the ceiling just above the three of them, and considering the final piece of dialogue, it obviously struck. Well, actually I don't have to end it off that way this time, because in the next video, in Space It's Kind of Frosty Conclusion, we see Chilled in Hell watching things play out. Although the audio is actually pretty comedic, Chilled makes some pretty bad faces as he watches what's going on before the narrator says that they died a horrible death and that it was deserved. I agree. Very deserved indeed. The current final episode, released on May 11, 2023, is called Absorption Means Perfection, or else? Yet another continuation to a previous part. The alternate Cell is seen eating him before we see Cell inside of the creature's stomach. Cell destroys his alternate and himself in a fit of rage, but this is Cell. All he needs is one single cell in order to regenerate his entire body. Plus, every time he regenerates, he gets stronger, so he can't lose now, right? As Cell celebrates his supposed victory, he is suddenly stopped as, of course, his alternate has regenerated again. Will Cell have gained enough power from his regeneration to defeat his new form? Find out next time that I decide to talk about this series. Alright, have a good day. Okay, so actually I took so long to finish this video that they uploaded another episode called Hell Ranger. This one starts with Android 17 in the nature preserve before he looks distressed as the familiar audio clip plays. He quickly turns around, but the creature has already gotten behind him again. We see blood fall onto 17's shoulder before we see the terrifying face of his alternate. We can only hope that he survives.